Hi everyone, my name is Leah. I'm a director, producer, writer, creator, editor, author based in Toronto, and I'm here today super excited to be talking to Chell Stephen. I love you. The first time I spoke to you at that event, I was like, you're awesome. I want to talk to you again. So I'm so excited that you're here doing this with me. Thank you.
Oh my God, thanks for having me. That's very sweet. And that was fun. Yeah, that was a weird little thing. I didn't know really what it was going to be, but the highlight is always like getting to meet new people who are doing interesting things. So I was glad to meet you there as well.
Totally. Well, today is basically, I just want to kind of chat with you about directing, because that's what you do. That's what we love doing. And just kind of hear your story and like basically hoping that this will essentially act as like also a resource for aspiring directors, because I'm not sure if you know, but I wrote a book called, um, wow, I just forgot the title of my book. Beyond the Director's Chair. It's about leadership in the role of a director. So it's not really about the technical side of the craft. It's more about being the leader on set kind of thing. So I've always had that book kind of sparked an interest in talking to directors and really getting to know how they work and what they love and their style and that kind of thing. So yeah, I have a few questions if that's okay.
For sure. No, that's a really my favorite topic. It's one of I mean, craft is obviously so important, but I love, I talk about this all the time. Honestly, I talk about it in every meeting I have. It's like, it's a human thing. It's made by humans. And when you don't pay attention to the human concerns, the product suffers. It just does. It's fun to pretend that like being an asshole is cool for some people. But it just isn't. Like, you can tell when you watch the work, it's like, oh, this was made by people having fun, or like by people being treated respectfully. I really believe that. So anyway, it's a good topic. I'm down.
I think I agree with you. I think you can kind of tell in the energy that comes through the screen. You can really tell. So I just kind of wanted to know like how you got started as a director. Maybe talk about some of your like first inspirations or when you realized that you wanted to direct. A little bit about your starting points.
Sure. Okay, so I always was interested in like TV and film and stuff. Like, I had a subscription to Entertainment Weekly, I think at age 10 or 11 or something really silly now, and that I think about it. I was into it. But I think I didn't really even understand what a director was, which seems crazy, but like, I don't know. I think I from this perspective, like in my life, how I think it was is that I was like super type A, like big control freak energy. And so I feel like I always thought I had to be the producer. Like, I didn't feel like I was like allowed to be creative or something like that, you know?
Right.
And obviously later I would learn that like being a director is like big, all control freak energy, and, you know, being super organized is exceptionally helpful there as well. But like, I think that was part of the hang up, because I did like, I don't know, we messed around with a video camera. Like, I was in the like video yearbook club in high school, but I don't even remember that being like that significant for some reason. But I did always love like movies and stories. I had an older sister, so like 90210 was one of the first like shows I was into, and then like Teen Girls are like a big influence of mine. And I feel like I always talk about how like 90210 into like Dawson's Creek, into The OC, into Gossip Girl. It's like, and then I got to, we'll jump ahead, spoiler alert, I got to direct an episode of Riverdale, but it's like this lineage. It's like, it's been happening for some time. But anyway, I did go to school for production. I got a BA in Media Studies at the University of Southern Maine, which, like, you know, at a bachelor level, it's like, it's not going to get that deep, probably. It's like a liberal arts college. It was great, but I took all the courses you could take, and it wasn't really deep enough for me. And also, I was like 21 when I graduated, and I felt kind of young to like head into the world full on. So I ended up doing my master's at Syracuse in television, radio, film after that, which was also cool. And I met one of my main collaborators there, and then I moved to New York. I was working at a company called Music Choice for about 3 years as a PA and eventually an associate producer. I got to write, direct, produce, edit. They were kind of a smaller company, so I got to do a lot of stuff like that for air pretty quickly, which was great.
That's good.
And in the meantime, I was directing music videos and stuff on the weekends. A lot of my friends are musicians, and, you know, there's no shortage of people who want, as you well know, a music video for almost no money. So it was like good ripe ground for me to be like testing my skills and starting to work with my collaborators. So my production company is called Think Feel. I started working with those guys back in 2009, maybe 2008. Yeah, that's when we shot our first video. So that's Greg Conde and Brian Parker and Sam Winter, and we love to make stuff together. Lucky for me, they were down to make my first short film a few years later. It felt like the next scariest thing to do is honestly why I think I wanted to do it, you know? Like, we had done 2-day music video shoots. You know, we'd do like sort of narrative stuff one day and a day of performance, or, you know, and it's about endurance in a way, right? So I was like, okay, can I do 5 days in a row? Like, that seems like the next thing. But furthermore, when you do a music video, no one's looking at the treatment and being like, well, is there a story? Like, whatever. It's like, does the band look cool? Fine. Really? It's not a big deal. But with a film, obviously, it's like you have to sort of be able to carry a narrative, a story, a character arc of some kind. So those 2 challenges made me feel like I should do a short. So I wrote my short Crystal. We shot that in Canada. I've actually shot most of my shorts up there. Because I live and work in the U.S., I can make the dollar go a little bit longer when I go up there for these self-funded jams. And lucky for me, my family are like soldiers. My mom's done crafty on a bunch of the shorts. My nephew's like PA'd. He's 15. I think he was 15 on the first one he PA'd for us. And anyway, it's a family affair. My big sister does hair and makeup. She's done that.
That's awesome.
The team. I don't have those soldiers just everywhere, you know, so that's why I have to come home and do it.
No, I can totally relate to all of that. I mean, I kind of have a similar story in the sense that, you know, kind of started doing music videos, getting into that world, and then I kind of dabbled in, I could do some brand stuff. Maybe I should do some short film, met with some you know, through, as you know, through film schools, you meet people, collaborators that I'm still working with today, and yeah, you just kind of take those next steps to keep things moving, and now I'm like developing unscripted TV shows and pitching them. So it's like, it kind of like, you know, you take steps and, you know, the journey kind of goes like this a little bit, but I feel like there are some filmmakers who like just want to do one kind of thing and that's it, and they won't do anything else, which kudos to them, that's its own thing, but I'm just not that person, and I get the sense that you're not that person either, because you've also done like branded stuff and music videos and short films, so it's kind of like,
for sure,
yeah, it's not necessarily like sticking to one particular very specific lane, which I think is a good thing in my opinion.
I think it is too. I mean, I personally like being able to do a lot of things. I like, you know, I edit. I used to edit more for a living. I can shoot, I can produce. It's like a lot of people on my team were very lean because we can't all wear a lot of hats, and that's obviously a big asset. We have like low overhead. It's not like we have to, you know. Furthermore, I can talk to any people in those departments because I do understand. I've been art department. I've been most of the jobs, right? I think we talked about it in the last thing. It's like, that's an asset, and that's like a part of how I pitch myself, honestly, because to some people, like at the level I'm trying to enter now, and like I do have a foot in, you know, the indie world to them maybe is like, not legit enough or something like this. Like, it's not like a huge budget feature or something like this. But I'm like, no, like, trust me, there's never enough time and money in either place. And also it's like, you know, it's like actually a really good training ground. Yeah. Because it's just like pure chaos a lot of the time, and like branded the same way. But it's fun. I mean, the bottom line, like, I love production so much. It is truly my favorite thing. It's really, like, I love creative problem solving, and there's nothing that stimulates my brain quite like production. Like, it's just, there's like 18 million things to be thinking about at once, but then also the singular focus of the one thing, and your brain is like toggling between those. That, I don't know, it just really activates me in the way that nothing else does. So I feel really lucky just to have found it, because I know like lots of people, you know, do jobs that don't stimulate them as much as these do for us. So I feel really fortunate for that.
100%. So, I mean, I watched all your shorts and a bunch of your stuff. So you seem very, at least from what I got, you seem very inspired by both classic cinema, but also like the 50s and the 80s particularly. 50s more so in the sort of music, kind of the flow energy of it, and the 80s kind of visually a little bit. And I really thought that was fascinating. So how would you describe your visual aesthetic style?
That is so interesting, dude. Thank you for saying that. I wouldn't have put it that way, but I totally buy it. And like, that's kind of how I've like realized things about my aesthetic. Like, I've sort of just made them, and then I look back and I'm like, oh, that's my vibe. Very cool. Like, I don't know. Especially with like, not the aesthetic, but even just thematically, I've realized that after I made a few of them, my wheelhouse is essentially like young female protagonist feeling a lack of control over her circumstances, bugs out into surreality and bad decisions as a result. And after I made a few of these, I was like, okay, that's my vibe. Very good. But like, you can probably tell that like I love music videos. I was raised on much music. Like, I come from that background. So my first film, Crystal, was like definitely, it has music video fantasies. But I love all those. I don't know, there's something about the tone of the 80s that is like so over the top that I really love, and like quite on the nose. campy is maybe a word that some people hate, but that I would apply. Some people say, like, they say pulpy with campy. It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's not, I think it's fun to, like, own your refs and just be like, here's what we're doing, you know? It's like, I also
Totally.
really like earnestness. I don't think irony is cool at all. So, like, there's a lot of, like, overly earnest moments, I think, in my work.
Yeah.
And so I would argue that those more thematic elements do actually, like, come in to the visual style as well. Like, super dialed in production design is very important to me, especially in shorts. I think, like, that's the difference between something, like, good and something excellent. Like, the devil is really in the details, you know?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like everything is an opportunity to make a choice, and that's what directing is, choices, right?
Totally.
I love colors. That's a lot in the aesthetic. That's, like, it's really fun. Again, that's another opportunity to dial in your choices. Like, when we made my film Sean is a Liar, my girl Kitty Lou did the the costume design on that, and, you know, I picked palettes for, like, our lead Shauna and then our, like, her rival also Shauna, and it was like, okay, we're always gonna have lead Shauna in, like, blues, like turquoise and greens, and the other one's always gonna be in, like, red muddy yellows, so that whenever they're on screen together, there's, like, that contrast. And it's like
Right.
little stuff like that I probably nobody notices, but it's just like, one, it's fun to do and to think about, but I think, like, that's, I don't know, I just think that's the way you think about it. That's fun.
Yeah.
And that helps it, like, congeal in a way that is, like, you know, maybe not obvious.
No, yeah, I
that
think
answer the question?
it really kind of, I think you do definitely have a style that feels very authentic to you. And I watched, like, your, was it Little Bits, I think, or Little...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And,
just
like,
little internet videos.
yeah,
No,
they're
that
so
is-
cute. They're so fun. They're so, like, I mean, what else are you gonna do when you're stuck inside for a year, right?
Yeah, funnily enough, the first one was made, like, not in quarantine. Like, that's just, like, it seems like a quarantine short, but it was just like, I don't even know. Like,
But they're
like,
very cute. I love them.
I'll have an idea sometimes, and it just, like, bothers me until I do it. I just,
Yeah.
like, need to, I'm like, go be someone else's problem, and it'll just, like, hang on me. And I'm like, fuck it, I have a camera, I have a tripod, like, whatever, just do it, and then whatever. And then I can, like, move on if I just, like, leave it, just give it to the internet and move on. So, like, that's what a lot of those are, and I want to try to stay active in that way. I like that muscle where it's, like, so often you can get tied up in, like, things being perfect. I am very guilty of that, and, like, things can take forever, but, like, those are an exercise for me, and just, like, not being precious about it, and just
Yeah.
like really doing my very own voice. And that's why I put them out on Instagram, because the people watching it there are, like, my friends and family, so they're like, we love it, and I'm like, I love it that you love it. It's validating for me. It's like a really nice feedback loop, to be
Yeah,
honest.
but it's funny, even those which, you know, obviously you shot them on your own, like, you're not necessarily having, like, teams of people do production, like, they still kind of feel in line with your other stuff, like, aesthetically and
I appreciate that so
energetically,
much.
so, like, it's really clear that you know who you are, at least for me, and you kind of have your style down pat, regardless of what you do, so that's really cool to see.
That's
Yeah.
so kind of you to say. Thanks.
Well, and you had mentioned you had done, I saw 4 short films. I don't know if you've done others outside of what's on your website, but
No, I think just those 4.
I was curious to know, like, I mean, you kind of touched on it. Is most of your inspiration from your own life or from films and things you've watched in the past that have inspired you? Those kinds of, you know, as you said, female-driven stories. Or are there really specific moments that you're like, I have to make a film about that? I guess.
Sometimes. I mean, Shauna is a Liar is based on a true story. That is, like, almost 100% a true story.
Wow.
And we shot it at my elementary school where that story took place.
Oh,
so,
wow.
like, literally moments of it happen in the same places. So, like, you know, you'd think that would have been, like, nice and cathartic. I don't know if it was. It was just, like, it was really fun. And my dear friend Christy Neville produced that, and she's incredible. It's, like, TDSB is not, this is not really the question. TDSB is, like, can be tough to deal with. So it was, like, really kind of amazing that we got that.
Yeah.
So just shouts to Christy because she's a G. So, yeah, that one, but it came back to me in a weird way. So, like, if I were to describe it for people really quick, like, there was another girl at my school when I was growing up. She had my same name, my government name, because it would be weird if there were 2 Chells. So I say, it doesn't matter. We had the same name, and I had to, you know, she lied about everything. I thought lying was bad, and that's what we were told. And so I decided that I should tell her a lie. And I didn't make a haunted house in real life. I just told her the school was built on a graveyard. But for movie fun, you know, like, we might as well. Get the fogger. Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's a visual medium, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, in
gotta
real
go
life,
there.
I just told her the lie.
Yeah.
But I did get in shit by my teacher. I had to sit in front of them in a chair. Like, that's fully accurate. And if this was one of these formative moments where I was like, oh, shit, like, whatever concept of fairness we have is like maybe not real, and like people are held to different standards. And like furthermore, as we kind of come into a place where we're more, I don't know, empathetic to these kid selves that we were, at the time my parents were divorcing and I was like, I'm fine. And then later I was like, related perhaps. You know what I mean? So like, cool. It's good to be able to rip those moments. I think the other ideas, I don't know, that they'll just be like moments or like energies that I borrow, I feel like. Like there's always like a line or two, just like a feeling or two that are definitely based in reality. You're all right, you're okay, which is a really short one. Like I used to do that. I used to try to I would walk around and say that to myself, which sounds insane. So enjoy it. Like, you're all right, you're okay. Like when I get anxious, I'm just like, so I had just moved to LA. I was using Headspace. I was so mad that, this man in his chill British accent was kind of like, meditating is easy. And I was like, I felt like the whole time he was like, you're so trash. So I was like, okay, let's just make that a thing. So that one was pretty based in reality. I think that getting water on on that part of your belly when you're doing the dishes is like the most disgusting feeling in the world. So that is in that for a reason. There's probably more in the other ones, but furthermore, there is stuff like grabbed from classic things. Like in Crystal, sorry, it's really the trash day over here. There's this, I don't even know if this plays, but I love films with a symmetry, right? Like it's like, and maybe this is so obvious, but the thing that they can't really do in the beginning is the thing they have to do to get out of trouble in the end. So like if it's a feature that's like, it may not be a literal physical thing, it may be just like an emotional hurdle or whatever the fuck. But for Crystal, so this jump that she attempts that gets her in the trouble in the diner is what helps her escape from the dude into the truck at the end. Right. So it's like, again, I don't even think that plays for anybody, but it's stuff like that, like these sort of like archetypal moments from the movies that I love, which happen to be like a lot of teen movies, that, say what you will about them, they're like structurally sound, right? Like that's what they 100%. Have going for them. So totally I like to just steal those things too.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, no, they're really fun and very, again, very you. Like it just feels like, okay, I can see that you're, it's not like, oh, I can't tell who directed this. It's like, it's very much you've put your stamp on it as yourself as a director. And I think that's important to kind of, and I think that comes down to knowing yourself and knowing what you like. So that's really cool to see. I kind of want to shift gears a little bit and just ask about Riverdale and nurses, because that's awesome. And I was just curious, coming from like an indie world, because that's kind of where I'm in currently, were there any like learning curves or surprises that you had to deal with, and if so, what were they, and can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
For sure, 100%. So I was very fortunate to do the WB Directors Workshop, and that's how I got the Riverdale episode. As you know, like TV is a catch-22. You can't get an episode till you've had an episode. So, yeah, luckily a lot of networks and studios and stuff are making these plans to try to like get more women and people of color into these directing roles. So, shouts to Rebecca and Ellie who run that program. They're incredible. Luckily, I got to do that. I went in for the meeting and they were like, it was an interview. I didn't realize at the time that they had already sort of like approved me or whatever, but it's like you don't get the slot until a showrunner has like also approved you, because they have to give you the episode. That workshop happens to be one of the best ones because it guarantees you one. Not all of them do. Like sometimes it'll be shadowing or whatever, but that one does. So anyway, I went in and I was like, they were like, oh, what shows do you like? And I was like, I could have said anything, but I was like, Riverdale, obviously. I'm like, I know what I'm here to do, like, here's the one I want. And I have I have a neon sign right here. I like almost exclusively eat at diners. I love fog machines. Like, I'm literally in my Roots Canada Letterman jacket all the time. So I was like, just trust me, like, I'm Riverdale. And I left the meeting being like, fuck, it's like the best one. I totally should have said like some other show. Like, I was like beating myself up for really shooting high. Anyway, I got it, luckily or fatefully. So the lesson there is, shoot your shot. It was good I did that. And anyway, I got to meet with Roberto, the brilliant showrunner, and that was cool. Anyway, so I got to shadow on the show first. I shadowed Greg Smith, who happens to also be Canadian. He was on Rookie Blue, and he's like a real great, brilliant director, so that I learned a ton. Because it is a big leap. It absolutely is a big leap. I mean, I've been directing for over a decade. I've been on all variety of sets, which is how I pitched myself in the room. It's like I've worked with influencers where this is their first time talking to a camera that isn't like their laptop in their house. Or like Amber Rose, who's a massive star, who like, bless her, she looks amazing, but it's almost like the whole day is like, please come out of glam, we need you. You know, it's like there's all manner of like talent that I've worked with, and like somewhat budget size, or like, are we rolling around in a van in Brooklyn making a music video, or are we, you know, like, do we have some money in a studio? It's like, anyway, I pitched them on that. Felt like I had a lot of experience coming into it, but it is a very unique beast. Episodic is, for sure. So very lucky for me that like the workshop really breaks that down as far as like how it works to shoot a scene. And like, essentially, as you know, TV is not a director's medium, really, right? So it's like, it's up to you to, yes, make some choices, make good choices, be like, you know, Riverdale, I'm lucky that it happens to be a show where they don't want you to just do nothing. Like, that would be a bummer if you just did the regulardo shit, right? They're like, they do want you to flex. So that's great, because like, you know, a procedural or something else, maybe they wouldn't as much, but nothing against procedurals, I love them, but it's like, you know, there's a different style, they like it cinematic there.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's not like there is extra time for that, so there's still, you know, and you still have to get coverage, you still have to get, you know, you have to leave the showrunner and the editor enough options so that if they're lifting lines or whatever the case may be in post, they have it all there. And you're not even there when that happens, right? So it's like, you're also like, you just don't want them to be talking shit about you when you're not there. That's, you know, like, give them everything they need. That's the goal. But then at the same time, you're still striving. You're still like, oh, I gotta, like, you know, I want to get a cool shot. I want, like, you know, the crew on my side, because sometimes that helps. Like, sometimes it helps to, like, you know, do a special early on, and then the crew's like, okay, I know what we're dealing with, you know? Like, a lot of the guest director energy is about energy. It's like, these people are together all the time, maybe 10 months at this point, and they know these sets inside and out. And you come in and you're like, okay, I'm gonna be like your supply teacher for the next couple weeks, and you know, it's sort of funny, but so therefore the point to me is to bring that fresh energy in and just like have a really good attitude, and like, maybe the way you talk about things, or you bring that enthusiasm, it helps them sort of like jump out of that, what like could be like a 10-month
shifts a pattern
slump
for them. Yeah, exactly.
So that's the thing. It's like, you're not supposed to be remaking the wheel. You're supposed to be really respecting the show's language. So you know, there's research involved in that. Like, I've obviously watched all these shows and see like how they cover scenes. And then the other thing is that blocking is the most important thing. And this is like,
that makes sense. Yeah.
It seems obvious. You'd think I would know that, but like, the way that we shot all my films is sort of like, I mean, lucky me, my DP Greg has just spoiled me. Like, it's like, I'll ask for this, and he's like, okay, we'll figure it out and whatever. But it's like, you don't have time for somebody to be like that. And also, it's like, if those are more auteurish, it's like, okay, we're shooting this all in a Y because I said whatever. You obviously can't do that in TV.
Right.
So the name of the game is blocking the scene so that you don't have to turn around probably more than once to get out. Like, literally, that may be the only way you make the day. So there's exceptions to that, of course. And like, sometimes you really want something that, you know, is going to be, you know, the emotional height of the episode. So it's worth it, and whatever, you figure out a way to get it. And maybe another scene you've sort of made like, okay, we're just covering these two people talking at a counter easy so that we can buy time for this or whatever. Like, it's that juggling.
Right. Were there any of those shots in the episode were there any of those like shots that you like really wanted to do and you ended up doing them in the Riverdale episode? Yeah.
There were. Lucky me. Yeah. I mean, that crew they're gangsters. They're very, very skilled, and like, it's amazing that, talking about the indie, and I will mention this shot specifically because I feel like it'll be fun for you to cut to them, and I think you can. I don't know. Like, the transition from the indie world, I remember people being like, oh, it's going to be like fast because there's such a big crew. You'd think, because like my film Crystal, for example, like I say, Greg was the DP. We didn't have G&E. We didn't even have a camera department. Like, he was literally the whole thing. So it's like, there's that size. And then, so you think like, oh, there's all this crew, there's all this gear. It's going to be fast, but it's slower, obviously, you know, because it needs to be perfect. Yeah. And like, it's legit. It's like, they're, you know, Riverdale happens to have a very particular aesthetic of like sculpted light. So, you know, lighting it just takes longer on that show. Anyway, I did get to do a lot of shots that I really love on there. There's one where they're putting this like quiz show Betty and her mom are putting this quiz show trophy on the mantle.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to do a close and then pull back from that. And it was simple, but Vlad, the camera op, was like up on the dolly, and like he loved it. And it was like, I asked him to do it and he was like, okay, fun, this is gonna be sick. And it's like, I don't know, that was a simple one, but I loved it. When we shot Betty in the hallway, we had the camera on a jib and like really coming really up high with her. That was a nice one. I can't even think of the others right now. The DP Ron on that one, so like the episode's called Quiz Show, and when I first got there, he was like, so what's the movie that you think of when you think Quiz Show? And I was like, Magnolia, obviously. And he was like, boom, same. Like, we're gonna get along fine. And so, like, all the Quiz Show stuff in there is, like, 100%, like, a director.
Well, it's good that you were both, like, on the same page off the bat, because that helps, I think, for sure.
For sure. Yeah. And, like, I don't know. Ron is a G, obviously. And, like, but a lot of the time, what a friend of mine said to me once is that, like, it's nice to come in with a lot of special ideas for the day, but be happy if you got one of them in the day, you know? Because it can feel disappointing. Like, there was one day, honestly, it was that day with the tall, that jib shot where, like, I was shooting too high. I was trying to get, I mean, literally the camera was high, but also, like, I was aiming for too much.
Yeah.
And it got a little gnarly. Like, I sort of, like, forgot that golden rule, or, like, I was just feeling ambitious or whatever, and it was just like, yeah, I didn't need to aim for that one, and I kind of played myself at the end where we were running out of time, and I was like, okay, that's a lesson I won't forget. Got it.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. I mean, yeah, I think, and is episodic television something you want to continue to do, or has that always been your goal, or is it film, or both, or what's kind of been your trajectory, I guess, in your mind?
I mean, I think both will be ideal for sure. I'm really loving working episodic, and I feel, like I said, there's like this sort of game to it. Like, it's not a game, obviously, but like the blocking and the strategy and the like running through every scenario so you can know, should I go an extra take here? And yes, I can lose one later or whatever. Like, it takes practice to figure that out. And so I'm really excited to go again. Like, I can't wait, because I know I can feel myself getting better per episode. And so I just can't wait to do 3 and 4, because it's really satisfying to kind of crack that code. And I'm like right on the edge. So obviously, like, COVID times and whatever have put a bit of a cramp in that, but I'm super excited to be doing that some more. It's also such a collaborative part of it. Obviously, all filmmaking is, but in that world in particular, it's like, again, this crew there, like, they know the sets better than you. They do.
Yeah.
You know, best idea wins is definitely the jam. Also, you have to keep working with them the whole time, the whole day. It's like, you know, sometimes it's like, yes, your idea. And then everybody feels better. We're good. There's all these like little, you know, parts of that process, which is really fun, really satisfying, really stimulating, and very hard, to be honest. And I like, I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I don't like doing things that I'm not good at. I don't like it. But so I know that, like, I'm good enough at it that I like to do it, but it's also, it's not easy, because I get bored easily. So it's like that episodic TV is like this amazing little nugget where I'm like, I'm good enough at it that I can do it, but I'm so not as good as I want to be that I'm extremely interested in doing more.
And it keeps you like on your toes a little more, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But then there's the fact that, you know, I do have pretty specific visions in my head that I maybe am probably not going to be able to cram in, and it's not a good idea to somebody else's like visual language, which is established for the show. That's not the job. So my manager said this to me right away as soon as this kind of started. She was like, a lot of my clients like you, like, you know, will do episodic, and then after a few, they'll have to go do a feature of their own or whatever, because it's like, you know, you have to, that muscle needs to get worked out, you know, and, you can't really necessarily do that in episodic. So I think best case scenario, you have both.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, then all areas are being stimulated. There's, yeah. Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. And I've always kind of had that, you know, do I want to do episodic? And I would, but I feel like I would, if I had to choose, I would rather do film. Or like if I'm going to do television, it would be like unscripted television. Not that, but it's interesting because I've co-created and I'm working on scripted television shows. So for those ones, I definitely want to be at least directing 1 or 2 episodes, you know. Yeah. But I don't know. It's not that I'm against, you know, directing, because all the short films I've done have been other people's work. Hasn't been my own idea. I don't know. I feel like I jam better with film and music videos and stuff. But I think if I got an opportunity to do a television show, I think I would take it. But I think I would, I would probably choose film over episodic television.
Yeah. No, I hear that. Actually, I was having this conversation with Ron, the DP of Riverdale, when I was there, because we were watching like a bunch of scenes from different PTA movies as we were prepping. And we were watching the scene in Boogie Nights where they're going around the table. There's like a big conversation right with John C. Reilly and Mark Wahlberg. Obviously, it's like right before their shootout with the guy in the bathroom. And Ron was like, why is this so good? Like, why does this feel so amazing? Like, somehow different than some things feel in TV. And I was like, I think it's because you can do whatever you want there. It's like they didn't have to cover that. He was like, we're doing this in this shot. Haha. Like, it has that energy in it. He can do that.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, no matter how much you, like, want to make one of those shots work over here, it's like, definitely still get a close-up of number 1 on the call sheet. Don't leave without it, you know? So it's like, it just, even though that seems like a small thing and it may not even make the edit, it just somehow changes, like, the guts of the shot maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
So I hear you. I love TV so much, but I think it makes sense that somebody would feel the way you do, that it's like, you know, you want to be able to, like, really pour yourself into it than maybe episodic, where it's like, you know, you're doing that within somebody else's playground. Maybe it doesn't feel as satisfying.
Yeah. So, and I think that's okay. It's like, you know, don't necessarily have to do everything, even though I may sometimes want to, and I'm like you, I'm type A. So it's like, I want everything to be perfect, but yeah, sometimes you got to just know
like
your
doing
lane
a lot.
a little
You're
bit.
doing a lot already.
Well, I wanted to know, like, just kind of closing off a little bit, but is there a story that you really want to tell, or is there like a TV show or a brand or an artist that you really want to work with, or what are you excited about? Are there things that you've written that you really want to do, and other shorts or features?
Yeah, there's a lot of ideas on the go right now. I do want to do another short someday. I don't know when that will be. I sort of have an idea for it, but I'm like reverse engineering it, which isn't maybe my favorite way to do it. Like, I have the location. It's something that's in my family and might not be for much longer, but it's something that, like, I can probably not afford on another. I'm like, we have to shoot it. You know what I mean? Like, that's like the goal of like indie. It's like, what are your assets? Cool. Like, this has production value. So I'm going to have to come home and make that short, you know, as soon as the place is about to get sold. Okay. There's another feature I'm working on right now that is like sort of very different from anything that I've made, although maybe not. It's a thriller, but it's also a dark comedy that it's sort of like Money Monster meets like Scream and Heathers.
Okay.
If you will. It's like there's a hostage situation. It's like one scary night, but it's like really self-referential and like quite dark, but still funny and like pop culture steeped and whatever. Like, that tends to be stuff that I like. I would love, obviously, to work with the real Britney Spears. My dream project is like a buddy, like cop comedy. I don't know, not cops, but like a buddy comedy starring Rihanna and Nicolas Cage. That's a big dream of mine. I would love.
That's very specific casting choices.
Think about it. It's gonna be amazing.
I mean, that would be quite entertaining. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes. I can't wait. Now it's gonna happen for real. So that was good. Thanks for asking me that.
Speaking it into existence, you know?
Yeah, hell yeah. And then I always want to be making stuff all the time. Like I said, teen girls, I think, are the truth. Like, it's like teen anybody, but especially girls. It's like, you were there. It's such a complicated time. The emotions are burning so bright. Like, it should be illegal. It's just really gut thing, you know. But I just find it to be like such pure energy, and I feel for those girls so much, because you're just like, oh my God, I'm so misunderstood, and I'm like, no, it's for real. Anyway, so I'm like, a new project I'm working on right now is sort of like a like Detroit Rock City sort of energy about like 4 teen girls, like one night in LA, and I picture this car with like pink rope light inside it. It's like, sometimes that's where my ideas started, just like have this one image. And I have the opening image of that movie where it's like these 4 girls are on a stakeout for some reason, don't know yet, and you know, there's this rope light inside the car, and they're all in there, and then things will go badly and they'll spend the whole night trying to figure it out. So that's, yeah, I get these little images, and sometimes I have to just wait and like they percolate, and then, you know, maybe in a year it'll turn into a movie. I don't know. So like, I just bounce around between all these different projects
And do you write stuff on your own, or do you have writing partners? Because I work with writing partners. I don't really like working on my own. I find it's much harder to like get things flowing and get like a, I don't know. It's just I like having someone to to bounce ideas off of. Do you work on your own, or?
I do.
How is that?
I hate every second of it. No, writing is trash. It's such an annoying way to spend your time. But I like, like I read, there was some tweet or something where it was like, nobody likes writing. People like having written, right? It's like, that's the vibe. But it's satisfying to get it done. Doing it is painful. I have written, I have great collaborators. Like the music videos we used to do, my partner Sam Winter, we used to toss around ideas for those, and that was so fun. We would just we'd have both our laptops up, and you pull up this YouTube, makes you think of that one, whatever, and that kind of ping ponging, so fun for coming up with ideas.
Yeah.
But for some reason with the scripts, I don't know, I think it would take a really specific relationship, and I'm open to it. My partner Brian, actually, we were collaborating for a bit, and we could do it, but we also happen to have a bunch of other individual projects, so it's and it becomes a time constraint where it's if I'm working on my own, it's okay, I'll literally do this whenever.
Right.
You can fit it in that way. Counterpoint, it's definitely going to get done when you have the accountability of another person. So that's a great reason for that. The script I'm writing right now, I'm taking this Zoom writing class with a man named Scott Rogers, and it's we bring in 10 to 15 pages a week and read them in the class, and there's 8 weeks of it. And so, I just need to pay a stranger to make me do my work. He's not a stranger anymore. He's a nice man, but that's the theory.
You need those anchors. I think just in general, not even just with professional stuff, but sometimes with your personal life, it's helpful to have mentors or coaches or classes or it's an accountability thing, but I think it's also it kind of keeps you on a track. Whereas I find sometimes, especially with writing and creating stuff in the early stages, it can be very sporadic, I find. It's I'll write for 3 days straight, and then there's a month and a half where nothing happens. So it's
right.
I find those things kind of help anchor you into consistency,
Totally.
which if you're forced to kind of fit into that, you make things happen. Ideas just come because they have to.
It's true. That's totally what he says.
Helpful.
That's his angle for that project. It's just push through, and at those moments where you're oh my god, I'm gonna die, I don't have the idea, then somehow there's a breakthrough there, or other people say it's an old writing teacher I used to have would say all babies are ugly in the beginning, and it was okay, people call it a garbage draft or whatever, and it's if that's the goal, it's who cares, it might be this is the worst scene I've ever written, but forward, just not stopping moving is the thing, because especially when you're writing alone and your brain is crazy, and when most writers I feel are capable of having these very doubting thoughts at any moment, and it's having to be accountable means you have to just push through that, whereas other times you might be you're right, voice in my head, I should stop. The goal has got to be to get that voice to shut up, or at least be quieter.
Just mute it a little bit. And so my last couple questions are, what do you kind of want to be known for, I guess, as a director? Is there something that you have in your mind, or it's fine if not, I'm just kind of curious if there's something you want to whenever you finish a job or finish a project, you want people to come away knowing that this one thing about you or your style.
Wow, that's a cool question. It's hard to pick just one, because as soon as you said that, my instinct was that as I said at the top of the conversation, that we made something together, and and everybody contributed, and that was important. I want people to feel I don't know, it's a team sport. It just is. And I like that collaborative energy is something I think feels really good. I want everybody to feel they brought something and they mattered. I've said this on a million sets, and I don't care if what you're doing is going to get coffee and you think that's insignificant. It matters. Trust me, the coffee
really
matters. But every single job matters. If you're here, thank you. But beyond that, I think hopefully someone who's I'm always endeavoring to create shots that are visually distinct, but very importantly are grounded in story and character. And that sounds sort of general, I'm sure, but a cool shot is fine and whatever, but like if it doesn't tell the story, if it doesn't tell you something about the character, if it doesn't, you know, if it's not from anybody's point of view, like then it's not really gonna work. Like that just is the difference, you know. And I think having a point of view is a big part of the job, you know, and not being afraid to say like, okay, this is a weird way to do it, but my gut's saying that for some reason, so let's do it. And that's the best part about the solo projects, because like all of it is so me, like everything from like the music to the whatever to the, it's like, so I can be fully trusting when I have that thing. It's like, oh, I thought this, like it's gonna fit with the rest because the rest is all pure me too, you know. On a show it's obviously a little more difficult because you like gotta run it through, you're like, is this the show, blah blah blah. But anyway.
Totally. And just last question is, what advice would you give to young aspiring directors or people who are interested in even producing or writing, because you've obviously done all that too, but specifically any advice you would give?
For sure. I mean, I'll start with the most annoying one. And that is, you do have to just make stuff. Like, I hate to be one of those guys who's like, get your friends, get a camera, because we all know there's like a lot of privilege in there, and it's not like as cut and dry, and you know, it is what it is. But, and I'm not the kind of person who likes, you've seen my work, I'm not really trying to shoot stuff on a cell phone alone. So it's like, I get if your aesthetic involves more people and money and it doesn't feel easy to do.
Yeah.
However, there's literally no other way to learn. You just have to figure out a way to make those mistakes if they may be, or to like figure out what your taste is. So then maybe you are doing something on your phone and it's not your preferred taste level, but you're getting there. But like 95% of people are talking about doing things. You have to try to be in the 5% who are actually doing them. It's just will make a world of difference. And then less annoying, hopefully, is like really think about what you like, because like, I don't know, that's part of you, I think. Like I said, I don't mind overt references because I feel like they're all getting mashed through my filter anyway. So it's like, whatever, you're the only you is an important thing to remember, right? It's like, that's actually your best asset. Literally, that's the only thing you have going for you that no one else does. So when you're working on your taste, it's like, okay, what movies do I like, and why do I like that? Like, why is that scene cool? Why does that speak to me? Is it the lighting? Is it this? Like, and then pull those references. Like, I have a internal internet, like in my Dropbox, like internet grabs, it's called. And since many, many years, I'm just like pulling screen grabs when I like something, and I just throw them in there. And it's like, then when I'm looking for something for maybe a job, or also just like inspiration while I'm writing, I'll just like flick around in there and be like, oh, cool. Okay, why did I like that? Whatever. And just having those references on hand and then figuring out why you like them helps, you know, tell you about your style. And then being able to verbalize those, bonus level, is that it just helps you be able to collaborate later, because obviously that's so much of the job. You can have it all up here, but if you can't tell it to your collaborators, you know,
you'll never get the result
way
that you want. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a really cool idea, actually, just even a practical tip to actually just save things that inspire you in one place, and then you can always go back and, because I find myself always like, what was that thing I saw that I remember I watched a video.
Screen grab everything, always.
Such a simple tip, but it makes a lot of sense to be able to refer back to later. So
it's a sneaky productivity like hack because sometimes when I feel like I can't work but I feel like I'm trying to make myself work, it's like that's like sort of an easy one. You're just like put on music and like scrolling through Tumblr. It's like, I'm working because you're pulling images, but you're also just kind of relaxing. So it's like a weird little hybrid that, you know, when you're not being able to work but feel like you have to, which is kind of what we always feel like all the time. That's one way to do it.
Yeah, as a creative person, totally, 100%. Awesome. Well, I think that's all the questions I had, but I think that was a great way for everyone watching to get to know you, and I definitely hope that everyone checks out your films and all your work. I'll put the link down there somewhere for people to check out.
Cool.
And where can people follow you and your journey? Where's the best place?
Any place, probably Instagram is a good place. Chell Stephen with a PH and no S at the end is my handle on all the places, Twitter and Instagram. I'm like really trying to limit my my Instagram these days because it's just like it's such a scary place. It bums me out, you know. So like doing like a once a week sort of check in, but normally that is the place where like anything relevant will inevitably go there. And I think my Vimeo is the same. Anyway, it's all just my name. Also, chellstephen.ca. What's up, Canada? Somebody stole chellstephen.com from me once. I used to have it, and I didn't renew it, and somebody bought it, and they were like, you can buy this for $4,000, and I was like, keep it.
Oh, no. Well,
so I bought chellstephen.ca.
Yeah. Damn,
anyway,
that sucks.
Yeah, so watch out for that, too. I don't know why. I'm like, I'm not... Why I called GoDaddy. They were like, they looked at my IMDb. They're like, yeah, you're you. I'm like, I know. Good times. Anyway,
gotta love the internet.
Thank you for having me, Leah. It was really nice to chat, and those were some of the best interview questions I've ever got. So thank you.
Oh well, thanks. Thanks so much, and we'll definitely talk soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. All right.